on. All right, so I hope now you can see the presentation and I'll get going. So again, welcome to MSc Biotech and Pharmaceutical Management. Before I get talking about the program, I just wanted to say a little more about the UCL Global Business School for Health. We're really excited to be launching this new school. It's the first business school in the world totally dedicated to educating the next generation of health and healthcare management leaders. This school is really came out of a realization that often in business schools, we don't cover health-related topics well enough. And then in other parts, pharmaceutical departments, biotech, health, we don't often cover business and management well enough. So this school is really about that intersection, about bringing those areas together. And that's so important today as we think about the health challenges that we all face. And it is really global. And of course, we speak a lot about the pandemic and the impact that that's had on societies across the globe. But many of our health challenges, they were there before. They were there in the form of aging populations, particularly in places like Europe and Japan, but also we see places like China that is aging very rapidly. And so healthcare and health solutions, particularly in terms of prevention, diagnostics, is becoming so important. Remote patient monitoring, all of these areas are part of now the health ecosystem. We also see that across the globe, different systems have evolved in terms of who provides the healthcare, who pays for the healthcare, the role of insurance, the role of the patient. So this is really an opportunity for us to create a very novel department that really looks at the whole health ecosystem from lots of business perspectives. And also an opportunity to bring people like yourself from various backgrounds together to really think about how we approach health and healthcare, not just as public health, but public, private, coming together, collaborating in various ways. And we see more and more healthcare solutions pushed out into that wider healthcare space. We see lots of startups, biotech firms, the way that biotech and pharmaceutical firms work together. And of course, now we hear of biopharmaceutical companies. So this is all the kind of space that the Global Business School for Health occupies. It's very exciting. It's very innovative. It's very cutting edge. And our programs have been really designed with that same kind of thinking and spirit. So we've got a number of really great MSc programs. Our MSc Biotech and Pharmaceutical is probably the one I'm most excited about. It's really novel in the sense that we are focused here on, like I said, that intersection between science and business. And we really take a business perspective. We look at the business of these. For many times, for decades, really, we looked at pharmaceuticals in a very kind of flat way. Same thing for biotechnology. We now see them in a much more dynamic way. We see them much more as a part of this new kind of vibrant economy that's growing at such a rapid rate around the world. Healthcare and healthcare expenses make up between 10 and 20% of GDP in different countries. But also where we're really seeing, and particularly if we look at, financial markets, private equity, investment, these are the areas. And the area really is about that business model, understanding, kind of the pathways, the ways in which biotechnology and biotech firms work with pharmaceutical companies. often the innovation in the biotech sector, and then the manufacturing in pharmaceuticals. So it's getting that and understanding that business imperative that this program is really all about. It's understanding these sectors, taking, you know, your kind of previous work and your background, and really thinking about areas like product development, strategy, the convergence of for innovation that can take place in these. So a big kind of part of that then is really understanding, of course, how we assess health technology from a pharmacoeconomic standpoint, understanding things like clinical trials and you know, that process, and really the policies and practices and dynamics of these sectors. And all of this is very good, whether or not you want to, you know, go into or are in pharma or biotech, or whether you'd like to launch out and in a startup in this existing space. So this is really, you know, as I said, there's just a few programs like this across the world, and we're very excited to be able to launch this one at the University College London. So before I get on to talking a little more about the program, I just want to talk a little bit about who we're looking for, kind of the requirements, the admissions criteria. So for this program, you do need a UK degree or its equivalents overseas. And we're looking for people who have a background in health, science, you know, and that can be pharma, biotechnology, business, or economics are the kind of ideal majors. And then you need really a 2-1 or a extensive related work experience to come onto this program. The language requirement is a 7 or above, with no less than a 6.5 in any sub areas in terms of IELTS. You'll need a personal statement, and you'll need 1 reference. And the personal statement for us is really important. We want to get to know you. We want to see your motivation for coming into the program, as well as understand your background that you'll submit through your CV. So also, you know, who is this program for? Well, it's for really, you can be someone who's just finished a bachelor's degree, maybe did it in a science area or pharma or biotech or even business, but that you really want to pivot into the management and business side of pharmaceuticals and biotechnology. And it is really growing. Just this morning, I read a great article talking about business models and the need to really rethink how we approach some of these sectors, how we structure companies. And so this is all very important aspects of this evolving space. And it is really evolving. The kind of mergers and acquisitions that have taken place over the last couple of years really call for different ways in which we think about these sectors going forward. You'll learn a lot about that when you take this program. So whether or not you're coming straight out of a degree, or whether or not you've already started to work in these areas, you know, we are looking for really people who have diverse backgrounds, who want to really learn more and use that and apply that knowledge in the biotech and pharmaceutical sector. In terms of how the program runs and your experience, so before you even arrive, we will ask you to complete a self-paced course on global health. You'll take that online. It's really an introduction to the space that the Global Business School for Health occupies. And we want all of our students to have some commonalities, understand health systems, because a big part of, you know, the processes, particularly for this program, is understanding IP, how regulations are different between different countries' health systems. You know, one of the reasons, you know, sometimes people ask me, you know, why would you have a business school for health? Because health is not like any other sector. It's, you know, the kind of products and, you know, drugs, the approval processes, the way countries have structured their health systems varies so significantly and has a huge impact on pharmaceuticals and biotechnology companies as they go forward. So you've got to really understand that global health space first before you can start to get down into the more specifics as it relates to this area. So that global health course will be very important as start. And you'll also have the opportunity then to have a week induction where we'll spend quite a bit of time talking about your own personal journey, your development, your professional development, really helping you visualize what you want from this program, where you see yourself. We start our careers. We don't start it in January. These are one-year programs. We started in September, actually. We'll start to work with you to make sure that you get the outcomes, whatever those might be, from the program, and that you're getting the experiences that you need all along. We got some really innovative ways in which we do that. We have what we call our Health Executives in Residence program. That's where you can actually, you'll have a list, and we'll be putting that up shortly on our website, of individuals who have agreed to essentially do office hours with you, give you career advice, talk to you about their own experiences. And you can book every semester office hours with different people from the sector that you might want to get some insights from. Also, you'll be working on a project, and I'll talk about that in just a minute, with industrial mentors, not just your academic staff, which will also give you, again, another layer, another opportunity to really understand this space. So that's really important. We get that going in your induction. We're going to have some fabulous speakers, some real standout influencers in this space that'll be engaging with us. And then you'll start into your program. So in your first semester, as I just mentioned, you'll get that kind of foundation. You'll take clinical trials and statistics. It's quite a chunky course, but it's a really important starting point for anybody who wants to go into this kind of product development, management, business strategic side of these sectors. You'll also have a really interesting course on kind of the dynamics of these policies and practices, and then your pharmacoeconomics. Then when you come into term 2, you're going to get much more of what I call the business issues and opportunities. So you'll have 2 modules actually in kind of commercialization. And you might wonder why. Well, because the commercialization process in biotechnology is slightly different than that in pharmaceutical companies. So we want to make sure that you really understand both of those in a very comprehensive way. So you'll take a course called Commercialization of Research Ideas. It's taught by a senior academic in biotechnology. And then you'll take another one in commercialization and marketing of pharmaceuticals. Again, really taught by an expert with a pharma background. Those are going to be really important, kind of setting the foundation for understanding the business space here. Then you've got 2 other really key modules. One is on capital and private equity markets for healthcare, and the other one on supply chain management for healthcare. Again, both of those are really integral for understanding how this space works. Now, the other thing that you'll start, and it'll start in induction. So part of the process in induction will be to get to know you, understand your kind of leadership style, your approach, and you will be able to put together a real nice kind of, course, in terms of being put into groups to start working really on your business project. The business project isn't due until the end of your 3rd term, but we want you to work alongside all year long, because that way you can really apply what you're learning to your project. So the project is really about developing an idea for either a new drug or a biotech product, or using one that's out there, but it's really about forming the analysis and building and developing a business plan and a pitch. because that's so important when you've got ideas and you want to take them forward and you want to find investors, or you're pitching them inside your organization for new product development. Being able to put together a solid and comprehensive, well-researched business plan with also a pitch or presentation is really key. So those are really, and then working as a group with people from diverse backgrounds to really pull that all together. That's a very important project. And as I said, there'll be workshops that you'll go to. You'll have people from industry who will meet with you each term. And then you will also have your academic advisor. And then last but not least, you will have an opportunity to do a research project. Your academic advisor will work with you to pick a topic that really will help you in terms of thinking and taking a deep dive into an aspect of something you've learned along the way, or something that you're very interested in that falls within the remit of this program. It will be a desk-based research, and to really create as original piece of research as you possibly can, and that we do at the end of that third term. So it's a really exciting program. The other thing I just want to mention, there'll be lots of opportunities to attend events throughout. We've also got some scholarships to the within the Global Business School of Health. But I also want to make sure you realize, and I'll talk about that in just a minute, all the scholarships that are available and out there and that you need to look for and source. We've got one for women healthcare leaders and also one for East London healthcare leaders. The reason we've got one for East London is our school is being launched at our UCL East campus that's in East London, and it will provide you a great opportunity to really for people who either work or live in East London. So both of those will give you reductions on your tuition. The women leadership one is really designed because, in healthcare, we find that 70 to 80% of our workforce are women. And yet, oftentimes across the globe, we see a minuscule number of kind of leaders in healthcare that are women. So that particular program also has with it some added coaching and development that individuals who are awarded that scholarship can undertake. As I mentioned, those are just a couple scholarships that are offered in the department, but UCL has a number of scholarships. And I really encourage you to go on the UCL Scholarship Finder and look for other opportunities. There's also, of course, you can get, if you're a UK citizen, you can get a student loan. If you're a US citizen, you can also get a loan that you can use and apply to study at UCL. And there's also for international students, and the British Council can be a great place to learn more about some of these scholarships. The Chevening, the Commonwealth, the Fulbright, great master's bursaries. So there's lots of opportunities, but it requires you to do a bit of homework. And of course, you can often work, overseas. International students can work up to 20 hours a week while they're a student with us. They also have the opportunity to stay on and do a postgraduate work visa and continue to work in the UK for 2 years to get work experience. So there's lots of opportunities and ways in which you can fund your education with us. I mentioned careers, and as I said, it really starts in induction. It's about visualizing, understanding what you want, the kind of job that you want out of this program. We'll work with you across the year. We'll have a number of events. UCL Career Services is amazing. We also have enterprise and innovation services. And of course, once you come to UCL, you join a very vibrant UCL alumni network that you'll be a part of. And that will create lots of opportunities for you. You can volunteer in the alumni office. You can ask to be connected to people with backgrounds that really resonate with you. And we will, across the year at the Global Business School of Health, be connecting you with lots of influencers in this space. So throughout the year, you'll have a full program of events, job boards, resources, and career workshops to engage in to make sure that you get the outcomes that you're looking for. And then, I just want to talk a little bit about what, as you start to think, you might already be in employment. You may want to just pivot into a different role in your organization. And we often find that's the case for individuals in the pharmaceutical sector. Often, sometimes you end up in very niche areas, and it's hard to kind of get that personal development that you need to move over more into senior management or management in general. So of course, management roles within, pharma, biotech, and then of course, the public and private healthcare space. The NHS is definitely looking for people with this kinds of education and background. Insurance companies, the WHO. So, and of course, you could think about going into consultancy. You could think about, health tech, med tech, the startup market. So there's lots of different ways that you could use this degree to really launch you into some very exciting careers. Or you can just decide that you want to have more of a portfolio career and do a number of different, kind of aspects or in the kind of gig economy. So this is really about honing in on your management, your business skills, and particularly giving you an expertise about the biotech and pharmaceutical sector. The other thing, in addition to just talking to you about the program, is just to talk to you a little more about what it's like to be a student at UCL. UCL is an amazing university. It's really exciting. And there's so much, many times I think people underestimate or just don't even appreciate just the size of this organization. So as you're studying with us, you'll have lots of opportunities. I'm really hoping that the students on this program will create the first kind of biotech and pharmaceutical management club, a way to really complement what we're doing in the school in terms of your student experience is, really crafting and shaping your own experience through a club. There's over 250 clubs in the societies at UCL. So if you don't create your own, there's lots that you can join and engage in, and they're amazing and provide you with lots of really exciting opportunities. Also, if you want to unwind with sports, there's 70 sports clubs, and they really span a wide spectrum of different, sporting type activities. And then of course, there's other societies. There's, ones that have really a purpose focus versus in terms of you as an individual, learning things like yoga, and of course, a much more societal purpose like Amnesty International. So, and then if you want to volunteer, work a part-time job, there's opportunities to learn more about that, to connect to other students within those opportunities. And then I'd just like to talk lastly about our student support and well-being team. I know particularly over the last several years, we've all been under a tremendous amount of stress. Many of us have experienced anxiety. So we have a wonderful student support and well-being team. Also, if you've got a disability, whether, regardless of what kind of disability, they're there to help you, to advise you. They have a counseling service. So, and they have lots of ways in which you can engage with them, both virtually and face-to-face. So that's really important to know that that service is there for you, that you can use it, you can tap into it as you need to while you're with us. And then last but not least, our student union also has an advice service. It's a great first port of call for all student inquiries. We have something called Ask UCL. You can go in there and you can ask questions that you have, get answers that you need. So although it's a large university and very dynamic with many things happening, there are multiple ways in which you can engage as a student at UCL. Then, I'd like to just talk a little bit about UCL East, because we're so excited to get to be on this new expansive campus that UCL is building on the Queen Elizabeth Park in near Stratford. That's just a picture of our buildings there. That's where we will be next year. And then in the following year, they'll also add this other buildings called the Marshgate building. They're wonderful, brand new facilities, very exciting. Also in this tower will be student accommodations. So you can, if you're looking for student accommodations, apply there. There's also other student accommodation, private accommodations that you can apply to with just minutes away from the campus. So life in UCL East is really vibrant. It's exciting. There's art facilities on the park. There's, of course, athletic facilities on the park, and just great green space to relax and to really think. Also, just alongside the campus is the Westfield Shopping Mall, which I believe is the largest shopping mall in all of Europe. And then, of course, the Stratford International Station can take you straight into central London, right near the Bloomsbury campus within 8 minutes. So you really get the best of both worlds. There's lots of really exciting places to eat and just to live. It's very high quality living space and a great place to be a student. Then I just also want to mention London, because if you're not from London, London is just fabulous. It's a world-class city, of course, with lots of attractions. Most of the museums are free. Loads of green spaces and parks for you to relax and meet people, constantly different festivals and things to do. It was ranked in 2021 as the top city for students in the UK. So I think you'll find, and many job opportunities as well. It is really a dynamic place to be a student. So that's really the end of my presentation. We've got later this week a couple events, and one that I really want to highlight to you, and that is we've got a webinar called Universal Health Coverage for All, a Question of Finance. It's on January 19th at 1 p.m. We've got an international panel discussing, just whether or not it matters what kind of financial system you have for your healthcare system, who the payer provider is, as it were. I would really encourage you to attend that. I think it's a fabulous opportunity to really learn about healthcare and this question of finance, which is so pertinent to everything we do. We've also got other events about our other programs. And then, of course, you can always come to our website, learn more about the school, learn more about this program. So that's really my presentation. I hope you found that interesting. I'd now really like to open up the chat. So again, if you have a question, you can start to put them in the Q&A. I'm going to just give you a minute to come up with some questions. I know some people are shy to ask a question. You can put it in there anonymously. You don't have to put your name. But of course, we look forward to answering those questions for you during this session. So I'm going to just pause for a minute and let you see what questions that you might have. Again, really happy, anything that might come to your mind, you want to ask about, feel free to put some questions in there. I'll tell you a question I often get. It's about the different kinds of options. You can take this course as a full-time student. Some students ask me about how to take it part-time. If you were to take this as a part-time program, you'd need to be able to commit 1 day a week to being on campus. And as we get closer in the next couple months and finish off our timetable, we'll be able to tell you what day of the week you'd need to be there. In the first year and the first term, the clinical trials and statistics course will be delivered online. So you will need to be available for those online sessions, but you'll be doing that remotely. And it's if you want to take it flexible, you can take it over 3 to 5 years to complete your degree. So it is possible to do these They are designed as kind of in person. So for each module, you will be expected during term time to come for 2 to 3 hours. So if you're taking four, that's about 12 to 15 hours of kind of face-to-face time that you'll have each week around your modules. But you can do part-time, like I said, and if you're in work, you just need to negotiate to have that day a week off from your workplace. Okay, so I see we do have some questions. The first one is there a science component in this course? No, this course has been designed really from a business and management standpoint. So you will, of course, come in contact with science through the different modules, but there is no science component as part of this program. The next question, hi, Professor Colton, are there services to assist students enter the job market following the completion of this MSc? Absolutely. There's actually services and career support, not just when you complete, but from the very beginning. So because you really need to start looking for that job, getting that job placement, not at the end of your program, at the beginning of your program. So as soon as you join with us, UCL Career Services will be reaching out to you, but we'll also have departmental support. They'll be reaching out to you. There'll be a number of events, and we'll work with you to make sure that you get the career outcomes that you're looking for through doing this program. That's very important to me as the director of the school, that we get very good placements and job opportunities for our alumni, our students. Good afternoon. If I had 2 years experience of working in a pharmaceutical company, would it be acceptable to get my recommendation letter from my supervisor at work? Absolutely. So there's no question about that. I think, for people who've been out for a while, we'd expect you to actually have those recommendations. Next question is, are there any previous cohorts? If so, what pathways did the alumni take? We haven't had any previous cohorts. This is a brand new program, but I can tell you there are a couple of other similar programs that exist in Europe. And so the kind of career outcomes that I can tell you, that graduates and also the kind of employer survey work that we've done, people from this program, because one of the things that we did, just to give you, Faith, a little more background, is that we worked with a data insight, kind of labor market insight tool. We looked at what were the job opportunities, what were the companies. So when you saw that list of pharmaceutical companies, those are companies that we really designed this program to fit different roles and different jobs. The jobs were things in product development, leadership management, so things like strategy, those would be the kind of main career areas that you'd be looking into, overseeing clinical trials, creating kind of pathways, marketing, pharmaceutical products, and also, jobs in finance, investment that relate to biotechnology and pharmaceuticals. So those would be the sorts of things that you could anticipate being competent and able to take into jobs. But having said all that, one of the most growing areas and is that whole kind of startup area. And when you go into a startup, one of the things that you'll do is you will have varying jobs. And this program will give you a much more wider kind of ability to take on more business and management type of responsibilities that would be really highly sought after in that kind of startup space. The next one, how does this MSc compare to the MBA? So I often get, that question about the MSc versus the MBA. The MBA is really a very different experience. The MBA is really more about decision-making and making sure that you get a much more general. This is very specific. MSCs have a kind of a specialism, that, you know, a specificity about them. That's what makes them an MSc. An MBA is really a much more general, more comprehensive business and management training. So our MBA in health, for example, you get all of the kind of general, you know, you get strategy, you get human resource management, you get marketing, you get, you know, financial reporting, you get corporate finance, policy, and, you know, areas, sustainability. So, you know, you get economics, accounting, finance, all of these kinds of areas. You'll get them in a general, but really focused on health. So where does health come into that? Well, all the case studies. We want to really create people who can synthesize lots of data, lots of information as healthcare leaders and managers, and make decisions very confidently, speak confidently, and really go forward. So that program is really much more focused on those abilities and making sure to fill all the gaps that individuals might have as they go out. This program is really focused on a subsector of the health sector, and that is the biotech and pharmaceutical sector, which are very exciting, growing, dynamic parts of the profession. So they're very different kinds of degrees. So I wouldn't think they compare very well. If you get an MSc and you decide to do this MSc, I would imagine that you would like to, at the end, have something related to pharmaceuticals or to biotech. If you do the MBA, you could, of course, end up working in pharmaceuticals and biotechnology. But if you wanted to really get that specific expertise, you'd want to do the MSc. If you wanted to get more general management and leadership training, you'd want to do the MBA. So I hope that helps. What would the annual salary be of an entry-level position following completion of this MSc? That's a really good question. I don't have exact answer, but I would say to you, you can go and Google things like I've just mentioned, you know, product, you know, pharmaceutical product development. You know, you can see the salaries in job ads. So, and that's exactly how I would go about it. I would imagine, you know, coming out of this program, you should be able to make, you know, in the high, you know, 40s, 50s. But again, without understanding your background, your previous experience, have you ever worked before? I think all of those will come into play. So it's not just as easy at this point, but you can look at my best advice is to take some of the jobs and think about them, look at what's out there in this kind of business and management space for biotech and pharmaceutical. And you should get a much better understanding of A, what kind of previous experience they're looking for, and then B, you know, what the starting salary is. When we developed this program, that's exactly what we did. We did go out and we looked at the job ads. We used a data insight, labor market insight tool that helped us with that and gave us a clear idea. Hi, Professor Colton. Can I submit my application first after getting the conditional offer and then provide my IELTS? Yes, you can. So you can get your you know, application in. And then you can, you know, you will have to, of course, you know, eventually provide by an IELTS test. And if you have any questions or problems doing that, then you, when you submit your application, just contact the admissions office and they can clarify whether or not you have to have your IELTS in to submit your application. Hello, Professor. Is there any expected prerequisite knowledge for this program in terms of science or finance component? Actually, there's not. Of course, if you come from a background where you've got that pre-knowledge, and we've tried to think about, you know, the kinds of majors. So that's why, Economics is a very good major. Of course, if you got any undergraduate background in biotechnology, bioscience, pharmaceuticals, there's just so many different areas that you could come from into this program. And then, as I said, we've got a really amazing program lead coming in who has historically has a pharmaceutical background, but has worked now for several years in as a business and management, academic. So I think it's really that combination. But we've designed the program that, if we, given the various backgrounds that the students come into, everyone will learn something. We're not teaching you science, we're teaching you, but there will be, statistics and kind of math areas that you'll need to be competent in to really enjoy the program. After this master's, what are the employable opportunities? Well, as I just said, there are a number of opportunities. Things that you could go into in terms of the management and business aspects. So you could even go into investment, into a company. A lot of people in finance and investment, have specialist areas such as, the biotech or pharmaceutical. Lots of mergers and acquisitions are taking place in that space. You could go on a management route in these areas. You're going to get lots of kind of a wide set of skills. So it's really also leveraging those transferable skills to the kind of health and management sector. We will have career support for you, and they will help you really identify that. So it could be product development, it could be marketing, it could be, something around clinical trials. It could be around, kind of the supply chain management aspect of this. It's really understanding the different business models and pathways and then leveraging that in terms of thinking about your career. You could also go into consultancy, which is an area that's very, prevalent and growing. And then, of course, there's opportunities in the NHS as well. What are the job roles, job titles can be associated or expected upon completion of this degree? As I've just mentioned, there are things like, product development, product manager, strategy, healthcare management, healthcare marketing, the kind of working in supply chain management. These are all areas that you could anticipate looking for a job in. It's also important to think about what you do your research project in and how you craft that as you go forward. And there'll be a number of career events to really help you hone in. But one of the things is recognizing, as I just said, you're going to get a lot of transferable skills that'll work across, and you'll be mixing that with what you've done your bachelor's degree in and what kind of work experience you bring to the table to really craft exactly what jobs you would be looking at. So as I said to the previous person on the line, I would look and see what kinds of jobs pharmaceutical companies have, look at what they're looking for in terms of background and knowledge, and you'll quickly see how you could, if you wanted to work directly in those sectors. As I mentioned also, there's lots of indirect ways in which you can leverage a business and management background like this in terms of finance, leadership, management, across the kind of health ecosystem, as well as startups. I have 8+ working experience, but only 2 years of relevant healthcare experience. Can I choose MCs? Yes, of course, there is no work experience requirement for the MSCs. The degree that requires work experience is the MBA. So really, this is, again, without having more information, any of our MSc degrees would probably be appropriate for you. So, ma'am, I'm a chemistry student and now I am working in a pharma industry. Will this master's help me grow in a corporate world? Yes, it would. And actually, if you're working in the pharma industry, I really encourage you to talk to your employer about this, what kind of opportunities, getting this background and skills. It should help move you up the management pipeline, whether you want to stay in pharma or to launch out. And I have to tell you, a lot of times students come on programs like this, they meet people, industry experts, they're really transformed, they start to think very different. One of the things that you want to do is really, again, leverage those transferable skills, by thinking about how you craft your experiences along the way. But yes, this would be ideal. That's the whole idea, is to really create business and management leaders who can really scale up into senior roles, C-suite roles within these sectors. If someone was looking for management in clinical trials, which course would be suitable? This MSc or MSc clinical trials, also at UCL? I think the real difference is this one will give you the business and management training. The MSc in clinical trials will give you much more focused technical training. So I think that, it's worth thinking about, what do you want? Do you want to have a more technical role, or do you want a more business and management role? And where do you see, your interest in clinical trials taking you? You, of course, will have some clinical trial training in this program. Actually, quite a meaty chunk, 30 credits of your program will be in that area, and it's really important. But you'll also be getting a much wider kind of industry perspective, as well as the management perspective, that I think is so important. Can you compare the 3 courses, biotech, digital health, global health? I'm struggling to choose which one. Well, they're really 3 different courses. So you need to ask yourself, really, where do you visualize yourself? Where do you want to go? They're all cutting edge, I can assure you. One of the things about this school is that we've really put in a lot of market research to understand the labor market, where things are going, to connect the dots. So, this program is really focused on biotech and pharmaceutical, because when we were looking out there and horizon scanning, and people ask me about specific jobs, the labor market is changing constantly. New kind of job roles, because of the use of technology, the kind of innovation that's taking place, the fact that medicine is shifting away from treating patients to really, diagnostics and also prevention. So the kind of education you get needs to be holistic. It needs to have multiple skills you can leverage, and forward thinking. So that is commonality through all these programs. But we've taken different focuses in that health ecosystem for a reason. And that is because we want you not to just get a wide variety of skills. We want you also, so everyone out of these programs will get really solid business and management skills, and that business acumen thinking, which is so highly needed and valued in the market. But also you need to understand, a specific area. So biotech and pharmaceutical management is just that. It is really focused, and particularly on that, 2 areas that really we've put some extra resources, and that is, of course, you get the clinical trials and statistics, and the the health technology assessment, through the pharmacoeconomics. You really understand the policy space for those sectors. And then, of course, as we've seen with the pandemic, supply chain management is imperative. With all the mergers and acquisitions, you need to understand the capital and equity markets. But moreover, we've spent 30 credits just designated for kind of the whole commercialization process. And that's a very, very important understanding that you need to have: how to take drugs to market, how to develop products, how to really see them in that kind of context, how to pitch your ideas, how to take research ideas and really put them forward. Those skills around product development are really so important. So that's really what biotech and pharmaceutical is about. It's that biopharmaceutical, biotechnology, pharmaceutical market. And for to really understand this growing business and management space within that sector. Digital health is not just digital health, it's digital health and entrepreneurship. And the reason I make that focus is because that, again, the startup space for digital health is so important. Why is it so important? Well, just because of what I just told you. We've got to focus more. If we're really going to meet the health challenges of the future, we've got to focus much more on diagnostics and prevention. And much of that is happening in this health, digital health space. But much of it will be the innovation, as we know, often takes place. Same thing, biotech and pharmaceuticals, where we see lots of the innovation, by the way, in the biotech sector, and then being bought up by the pharmaceutical sector. So the digital health sector is really a distinct area. We see lots of companies. We see big tech companies coming into that space. We see that space really taking off. Again, just this morning, read a brilliant article about, how, that space is really changing. The actors are changing, the people who are engaged in that space. We see people like, Amazon getting into that, of course, Google and Microsoft and all these other tech companies have already been there. The pharmaceutical sector, this whole emphasis around patient-centered healthcare. So understanding that space is also very important but this program is designed to really give you a entrepreneurial perspective on it and to allow you to get that knowledge about what it's like to be a startup. Again, you got to understand what is a digital health solution, how does it sit, what is the regulatory framework, how to approach it. So that's what you'll get there. It won't be focused on the biotech and pharmaceutical. It'll be focused on that digital and technology space. And then last but not least, global healthcare. And again, we did extensive surveys. We found that global healthcare management, we want to give you get 4 core modules, but then you've got an opportunity, again, to do a specialism. And employers told us what specialisms they thought were important. Analytics, finance, and of course, you hear all the time, we want to lower cost, improve quality. So, that finance piece is important, and then leadership. So each of these programs are really cutting edge in terms of thinking of that, health ecosystem globally. But each of them really also give you a perspective, and there'll be opportunities when we bring the whole school together for events, and you're going to get to cross over and talk to people on these different programs, but also giving you an expertise so that you've got something also to kind of hang your hat on as you go out to the job market. So I hope that's helpful in that. Thanks, Professor Colton. Will it be delivered online because of COVID? If yes, can I study remotely from my home country? We have no anticipation at this moment of teaching these programs remotely. You will have a mixed economy. We use what's called a flipped classroom. So you'll have lectures and readings that you need to do. When you come to campus, it will be interactive. It will be, often seminars, small seminars where you'll be able to debate and interact, where you'll have, experiments and activities, but you will be expected to come to those. Those will be an extremely important part. You'll be doing cases. So you need to be present. These are not online programs. Although we've experienced the pandemic this year at UCL, our operating model has remained, we have taught, on campus. So that will continue to go forward. If there was any change, of course, we'd notify you, but I wouldn't apply to the program expecting to be taught remotely. Okay, so I see we're just out of time. We've got 2 minutes, so I just want to hold on there and see if anybody else has got any other questions. You have been an amazing audience. There's nothing more rewarding to a speaker than having individuals who are engaged, who ask questions. If for some reason today you didn't feel comfortable, your question was too long and you didn't want to put it into a chat, please write to us. You know, we do respond as quickly as possible. We're here to support you. If you've got questions about your application, anything you're uncertain about, we want to really help you put forward the best of you and to apply and to manage your expectations and make sure that we work together as you work through this process. So one last comment. Thank you, Professor Colton. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming, engaging, and again, feel really comfortable reaching out to us. So wishing all of you a really happy rest of the day, evening, morning, wherever you are, whatever time zone you are. Thank you so much for joining today. Take care. Bye.